Hi, everyone, and welcome to this year's edition of the IAB Future Masters Town Hall, brought to you by the Interactive Advertising Bureau, as well as the Youth Action Council. My name is Uluzuwatena, and I have the great pleasure of being your host for this hour and driving the ship as we discuss another very important and relevant topic to the youth in our month as well. Let's move on to our keynote speaker. So today, our keynote speaker is Tavonga Musi Ngarabwi. Tavonga is a group brand strategist at AB InBev, affectionately known as Mr. Blue Sky. He told me to tell you guys this. An individual crafted with the understanding that the sum of the whole is greater than its parts. And his core, he sees himself as the epitome of collaboration. Tavonga, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Cool. Let's get to it, guys. The way I approach this conversation, it's obviously a very difficult conversation to have, but it's a conversation that we must have nonetheless. So I've treated this the way we normally treat work, from a strategy perspective. And if you work in an agency, you always get the brief. So what was the brief? The brief in essence is, how do we keep the lights on? And then the insight is that a society is made out of stories. And when its storytellers die, then it also dies. So what is the tension? The tension is, how do we keep our storytellers alive? And all of us being these storytellers. So the observation is that every one of us believes they're the best at what they do. It is because of this belief that we wake up with confidence. We firmly believe we are in control. The reality, however, is that we are not in control. Neither are we as good as we think we are. In fact, most of us are barely mediocre. But it is this delusion that we have that allows us to be as bold and as courageous as we are, and allows us to turn into this.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tavonga, for that. Moving on, our first panelist for today is Sibonginkosi Zuma, who works as the head of people operations at VMLY&R. Over the years, Sibo has held multiple roles in HR and the people space at a wide range of multinational companies. Moving on to our next panelist, we have Mbuso. Mbuso Shumba works as a mid-level strategist at Johannesburg's VMLY&R offices. Her journey in Adland began at Umuzi Academy before moving into the ad agency space and studying further through Red and Yellow during her days as an intern. And then finally, our finally and certainly not least, Mona Lisa Toleni. Mona is a UCT Gender and Transformation graduate who is passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as education. And really, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Mona and Mbuso. And the term that I'm going to bring up is strong Black woman. What are your thoughts on that statement?
So I think it's very harmful, to say the least, because firstly, within the South African context, Black women in particular, and just women in a general sense, go through a lot. It almost requires you to be brave and to be strong to survive every single day. So for anybody to come up to me and say, or call me a strong Black woman, it almost creates this perception that I should be comfortable in my struggle. It almost glorifies my trauma, which is quite unfair.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Mbuso, I completely agree. I think that the term strong Black woman really does imply that anything can be thrown at us and we need to survive it. So at every chance I get, I tell people, I'm an egg. If you even drop me by mistake, I will crack. So please do not throw anything my way. So I'm with Mbuso on, I think it's a very dangerous and harmful term to associate Black women with having to be strong and resilient.
What do you think the role of leaders in situations where people are kind of breaking down as a result of being told to be strong? What role do you think leaders have to play in that?
I think for leaders, they definitely need to create safe spaces. They need to encourage people to speak up and actually reach out for support. And the reality is, from an HR perspective, employees tend to think that HR is a one-stop shop and everything is going to happen within that space. Once your problem is that HR is going to get solved. But when it comes to mental health, that's not the case, because not all HR professionals come from a psychology background, which means we need to have employee assistance programs in our businesses to enable people to reach out to them, to allow an expert to give you their way of mechanisms of dealing with mental health issues.
Yeah, finally, I'm done. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and I think let's keep the conversation going. As you can see, here are LinkedIn's names. If you want to connect with us individually, would really appreciate that. And really, I think more than keeping the conversation going, let's also really do the work that's required from our end, and really help each other, not just ourselves, but also help each other to become better people and really thrive in the spaces that we spend our time in. So